Okie doke. So what I have there is a crappie jig. This is going to be quite a bit bigger than what you're probably going to want to use on a fly rod, but you know we tie flies and crappie jigs are flies for the most part. So and you tie them obviously. So that's what we're going to do. So here's just kind of a standard marabou crappie jig. Got a little flash running off the back, a little marabou off the back, and we've just got some chenille. This is an 1/8 inch crappie jig. It's about 1.75 inches long, something like that. So anyhow, we're gonna get started. When you get a lot of crappie jigs, I'm gonna recycle this one. When you get a lot of crappie jigs, you'll have a little lip right here, and that's for soft plastic baits, so that when the crappie or other fish hit it, the plastic bait doesn't just slide off the back. It kind of gets jammed in there, and it allows you to help hook up better. So what I do here is I'll just take my little pliers and I'll take that and I'll just kind of crimp that down because I think it works a whole lot better for what we're going to do. So let's get started. So what I've got here is Ultra Thread 140 fluorescent chartreuse. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start right behind the lead base. This is your lead base here. I guess it doesn't have to be lead, but I think most of them are lead when they make them. I'm just going to do a little thread base down. We're going to go back about halfway between that lead base and the hook point. We don't want to go all the way down to the hook point just yet. Next, what you need to do is get 2 plumes of marabou. What I like to look for here, these are kind of big plumes. What I like to look for is nice straight tips along here. Okay. And I want to kind of pinch it over, fold it over. If you got a bunch of stuff hanging out the back like that, just get rid of it. I've already kind of stripped this one. Here, I'll grab the other one just kind of, so I can kind of show you. This one's kind of a mess. All this stuff just gets in your way. Pull it off. You know, you can put this stuff in a bag and save it depending on what colors you're using to spiral wrap things like an RS2 or other nymphs. So it's still usable material, so you can save it if you want to. So next, what I like to do, because it's easier to work with marabou that's wet. So either have a cup of water standing by, or just lick all your fingers and run all that marabou through your fingers, through your wet fingers. You can run it through your mouth too, but this is dyed, and you know, I don't know that I want all that dye just running through my mouth. So a cup of water is probably best. I'm just using my fingers here. Next, what I want to do is I want to get the length of the hook shank. So I'm going to start in front of the head and get that kind of tightened up a little bit there with some good old saliva. And so I want to have it run about the length of the hook shank. Okay, and I want to start this, and you can change the size too to get it the tail as long or short as you want, but I kind of like it where it's sticking about hook length out the back towards the barb. So I'll pinch it right where that barb is, or the barb or the point. And now I'm going to take that thread over loose a couple of turns, and I want to seat this on the opposite side of the hook, just like so. Okay, I'm going to do that 2 turns loose. I'm just going to kind of snugly or firmly pull down and put 1 tight wrap in, and that's it. I'm going to leave it. Next, I'm going to do the same thing with the other feather. It's obviously already prepped with the exception of a little spittle. Oh, see, I've got some, you'll get some stuff like this too. Sorry. That's just dried dye right in here. Get rid of that. You don't want that. It kind of messes everything up as far as I'm concerned. Okay. Now, we can kind of do the same thing. Get it wet. Strip it out. Now, the one thing you want to notice when you're using any feather for that matter is which way the convex side is and the concave side. The concave side obviously has the bow in the middle. Okay, the convex side has the bow sticking out the back, so that's convex. If I turn my hand over, I can't do it. Not that close. Whoop, concaved, okay? All right, so we want the concave side facing the hook shank. And now my camera's a little bit close. It's kind of hard to do that. And all I'm going to do is just line this up so the tips are lined up. Now I'm going to do it on my side, or camera side. I'm just going to line those tips up. I'm going to pinch it. And again, I'm just going to do 1, whoop, 2 loose wraps over. I'm going to situate. I'm going to situate all that so it's sitting right where I want it. I'm going to do my third wrap and pull down tight. Just one quick, firm, just yank it down. And now you've got that. And so now what we want to do is wrap this back just to, oh, I don't know, right in front of that hook point, or just right at that hook point, somewhere right in there. Now we want to actually save this. Don't cut it off. And a lot of flies, you're going to cut this stuff off, but you'll see that you have this huge differential in size. And that can kind of get a little tricky to make up. So what we're going to do is we're going to use all that feather to help make up the difference in the gap. And so now I'm going to pinch everything in the back with my left thumb, left index, and I'm just going to start wrapping back forward, but I want to keep these feathers where I had them. So if you have to, you'll see how they're shifting, and I'm going to continuously move them back and forth. And the more you do these, you know, you can really work these pretty quickly. Maybe there's an easier way. I don't know. That's the way I've always done it. So just kind of work it back and forth. If you get good at these, you can tie one of these in about 2.5 minutes or something like that. It doesn't take very long. And we're going to work that thread right back up to where our lead point is. And now I'm going to come in with my scissors. Just going to pull all that one side tight, clip off, turn that vise over, do the same thing. And now I can kind of come in and clean all this up. And that's really, now you can see it's really helped shorten the gap on the width between what this is here and what the back end is there. So really get this part cleaned up pretty nice. And just like so. Okay, now we can kind of finish tying this off up. So we kind of have, the whole goal here is to have kind of a seamless transaction so that when we add our chenille, we don't have a whole lot to deal with. And if you're going to have a taper, have your taper run to the back. So you're smaller here, bigger up here. This crappie eat minnows. And a minnow's a little fatter up front. So anyhow, there we go. Next, what we're going to do is add a little flash. This is actually optional. So what I have here is just some holographic gold tinsel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a little bit hanging out the front. Just going to wrap over once, twice, situate it on the side. And again, same thing, tighten down for 1 or 2 wraps. Now I'm going to actually take the material, fold it over so we create a loop in the back. Okay, and you can create your loop big and you can cut it down to the size you want. What we want to make sure though is that we're getting a perfect loop and that there's no twist in this. And I'll just line this up right here. I'll pinch and I'll do the same thing. 1 loose wrap over, 2 loose wraps over, working my thread towards the back. I know you're getting a nice zoom in on my thumb. And on that third one, I'm going to pull down tight. So at this point, you should have something that looks similar to this. I'm trying to get it so you can see the flash hanging off the sides. Okay, now what I want to do is trim this off up front. Oops, sorry, hit the camera. And I'm going to fold this flash over towards the back and just put a couple wraps in. And I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Now what this does is this allows this flash to be locked into place. There's really nowhere for that to go and get out of there. And you can just kind of come in here and just trim these little tag ends off. Maybe. Here we go, like so. And we're going to put some nice tight wraps in. And we don't need to go all the way back just yet. Okay, next what we need is some standard chenille in whatever color that you're using. And when you tie the chenille in, we need to get, if you tie it in all fuzzy, you can do that. It's going to increase the diameter of the shank down here. And you might be able to get away with that too if you want to. And depending on how you're going to tie your jig, you may need to do so, kind of like we use the marabou to kind of fill this gap. You may need to use the chenille to do so. I don't need to do that here. So what I do is I'll overshoot it, get a little bit more than I need. I'm going to take my fingernails, and it takes a minute to usually get this stuff started. And I'm just going to start pulling it away from itself. It'll come. Come on. Yeah, I trimmed my nails the other day. I didn't anticipate doing the video this late. It was supposed to be out a few weeks ago and just haven't been able to get it done. So, anyway. Well, dingle dang it. Yep, there we go. So what we're looking for is you can kind of see how there's some string in there. We want to get that string exposed and tie that string in instead of all of this. I could have prepped all this at first, but that'd take the fun out of it because you're probably going to get stuck doing the same thing too. Don't trim your nails, I guess, is the is the rule here to get this not to do that. I'm starting to hurt my fingers doing this. Don't usually have this much trouble, but it just doesn't want to go. I got to do it off camera. I'm having a hard time doing it in front of everything. It's always a different aspect when you do it in front of the camera, so I'm actually taking my scissors because I can't get my fingernails to grab it. So what I just did there is I took my scissors, held them tightly, and I didn't clip my scissors. I just actually, see if I can do it here so you can see it. And just kind of lock onto that chenille and pull like so. There you go. So anyway, now we have this little string. There we go. And what we want to do is line the chenille up with right where that marabou starts, or I guess I should say ends on the tail. So I want to line that up just like so. And I'll do, again, a couple loose wraps over. And as I work it back, I'm going to really crank down on that and get it tight. Now I'm going to turn this around and start working it forward. Overlapping, just tightening the heck out of this thing. And we're going to work this all the way up. All the way up to right behind the eye. Okay, now you can turn this in either direction, but you want to start firmly so that it's nice and tight to the shank. You'll see how, this is why I pushed that little thing down. You'll see how there's a little lip there, and I'll show you how to kind of correct that a little bit. So what we want to do is nice and tight, excuse me, as we're going around, every couple of turns, kind of draw that with your fingers to the back. See, you can see that little lump there. I guess it doesn't really matter. It's a crappie jig, right? But if you want to make it look nice, you want to draw it back. It's good practice to have. We're going to go tight, tight. Just keep going tight. And when we get here, I'm going to loosen that up just a little bit. And I'm going to give it kind of a natural taper going towards the head. So you can see that there's just a little bit of a bulge there, and that's okay. So when we get close to finishing off the fly right here, you take that final wrap over and you're like, hey, I'm right up behind the eye. I have found that doing crappie jigs, no you're not. So on this last turn, you want to pull that chenille tight towards you and kind of roll it around the back of that eyelet, or of the back of the head, and really hold it and tighten it down. If you can see that, and that's really going to get that chenille up in there firm. And what this does is it allows you to hide those thread wraps. And so you can kind of crisscross that over, just like so. Upper right, lower left, keeping your tag up front. Now you can cinch down on that guy, and we're going to put a few wraps up front. We're going to come in here and trim that out, like so. Now I'm going to add about 3 more wraps, just like that. And now we're ready for the whip finish. You can add some glue here if you want. It's called a wet whip. Here, we'll do it just to show you. So you can just take your super glue and add a little super glue right there. Oop. It's beading up on me. You can kind of see it running. And I'm going to let that bead run back down. Oop. I'm going to let that bead of glue run back down into the chenille. Now I can just whip finish 1, 2, 3. Whoop, there we go. I don't think I got it quite right. Do it again. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Pull up. Actually, that just snapped off. Perfect. Now all you got to do is just figure out how long you want your flash. And what I'll do is I'll just kind of hold it in the middle and pinch it. And I like to have my flash run just past my marabou. And I'll just come in there and clip them both at the same time. That way the flash is even on both sides. And there you go. You've just got a little flash crappie jig. And that's it for this one. Pretty simple stuff. You know, it's like I said, if you're not shooting a video and doing a tutorial, you could whip these out in about 2 minutes, literally, once you get good at them. So anyway, there's a basic crappie jig. I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it's a little long for a crappie jig pattern, but I want to make sure that I explain everything thoroughly. If you like the videos, please subscribe. Feel free to share them. And if you've not joined our Facebook group, Fly Tying for Beginners, please do so. Just make sure you answer the questions. That is your key to get in. If you don't answer the questions, you don't get in. That's just the way we roll. So anyway, enjoy that crappie jig and go catch some crappie. See ya.